They have been getting ready for you, not loudly, not with visible, observable, chartable preparation that you could track or notice from the outside, in the specific, private, interior way of someone who has identified something important that they want to approach correctly and who is doing the quiet work of making themselves ready to approach it correctly before they take any external step. The preparation is happening in the rooms of their own interior rather than in any action that would be visible to you or to anyone else. But it is happening actively, deliberately, and with a quality of genuine intent that is different from the kind of thinking about doing something that often substitutes for actually doing it. This is not contemplation without direction. This is preparation with destination. And the destination is you. What I want to spend this entire reading walking through is both the nature of what they are preparing and why the specific quality of silent preparation of someone doing interior work before external movement actually tells you something very significant about the quality of what is coming when it arrives. Because the way someone approaches you is information about what you mean to them. And someone who prepares in private before approaching in public is someone for whom getting this right matters more than simply getting it done. Let me show you what the cards confirmed. Let me describe what I felt the moment this energy opened, because the impressions were specific and I want to share them before we go anywhere near the cards. I felt concentrated attention. The very particular quality of someone whose focus has narrowed to a specific point, who has a specific thing they are oriented toward, who has cleared the peripheral concerns and secondary preoccupations and is now primarily genuinely occupied with one thing. The quality of focus that belongs not to urgency but to importance, not to something that needs to happen immediately but to something that needs to happen well. I also felt something I want to name carefully because I think it is the detail that matters most in this reading. I felt care, not the generic ambient care of someone who feels warmly toward many people and situations. The specific, directed, slightly tender care of someone who is thinking about a particular person and who is treating the thought of that particular person with a specific quality of attention and gentleness that they do not extend to things that matter less to them. They are caring about how they approach you, about what they bring, about whether they are ready to bring it in a way that is worthy of what they are bringing it to. That level of care is significant information. The first card in this reading arrived in the position representing what this person is actually doing in their interior during this period of silent preparation. And I want to describe it carefully because its imagery is precise in ways that matter. This card shows a figure in solitude, carrying their own light into their own interior, not engaged with the world around them, but turned inward with a specific quality of purposeful attention. This is the card of someone who has withdrawn from external engagement, specifically to do interior work, to examine something honestly in the private space of their own awareness, to reach conclusions that can only be reached when the distraction of external interaction has been temporarily removed. What I am reading in this card about what this person has been doing is something I want to name specifically. They have been honest with themselves about what you mean to them in the specific, sometimes uncomfortable way of someone who has turned the full quality of their own attention toward their own interior experience and allowed themselves to see clearly and without defensive softening what is actually there. Not the manageable version, not the version that keeps things comfortable and provisional, the actual version, what they actually feel, what they actually want, what connecting with you actually means to them. That honesty is the foundation of what they are preparing. And it is also the reason the preparation is necessary at all. When someone is honest with themselves about the full weight of what they are approaching, they do not approach it carelessly. The clarity about what is at stake produces the care about how to approach it correctly. I also want to speak to the light this card's figure carries because it matters. They are not in darkness. They are not confused or lost in the interior examination. They are working by their own light, guided by their own genuine sense of what is true, arriving at clarity through their own honest engagement with their own experience. What comes out of this preparation is going to be clear and genuine because it was built on honest examination rather than on what was convenient or comfortable to find. I want to go one layer deeper into what the Hermit's preparation is actually producing in practical terms, because I think naming the output of the interior work helps you understand what is approaching. The specific thing this person is working through in their private solitude is not simply gathering courage, which is the most obvious reading of someone preparing for an approach. It is something more specific. They are clarifying their own intention, working out in the honest space of their own interior what they actually want from connecting with you, what they are actually offering, what they can genuinely sustain rather than what they might offer impulsively and then be unable to follow through on. The preparation is the specific work of arriving at a version of themselves and of their intentions that they can stand behind completely, that does not have provisional or uncertain elements that a genuinely attentive person, such as yourself, would be able to detect and question. They are making sure that what they bring is something they can fully commit to rather than something they are still figuring out as they go. The second card arrived in the position representing what specifically they are preparing to bring to you, what the interior work is producing as its content. And I want to describe this card with real attention because what they are preparing to offer is something worth knowing about. This card shows a hand extending a single cup from above, with water flowing from it and a dove descending toward it. The quality of something being offered that is pure and specific and entirely genuine. The very beginning of the suit that governs genuine feeling, the undiluted, uncompromised, before anything has complicated it version of what the cups contain. This is the card of new emotional beginning in its most complete and most sincere form. What I am reading in this card about what is being prepared is something I want to say directly. This person is preparing to offer you something genuine, not the managed version of what they feel shaped for optimal reception, not the strategic version calibrated to produce a particular response. The actual thing, the real interior, what they actually feel version of their experience of you and of what connecting with you means to them. I also want to speak to the dove in this card because its presence is specific and meaningful in the context of someone silently preparing an approach. The dove carries something. It is in the act of bringing. The energy of this card is not only about what is being held, it is about what is in the process of being delivered. The preparation is not a state they are going to remain in. It is a stage they are moving through actively and with direction. And the dove tells me that what is being prepared is already in the early stages of its movement toward you, even while the preparation is still in process. Does this feel like it is mapping onto someone specific, Virgo? The quiet, directed energy of someone who is doing interior work that seems oriented toward you rather than simply occupying their general attention. let me know in the comments. I want to hear what this is bringing forward. The third card arrived in the position I read as why this particular person is preparing so carefully. What about the specific nature of approaching you requires this quality of private readiness before external movement? And I want to describe it because I think it names something important about who you are to them. This card shows two figures sharing something, seated together in the ease of genuine companionship, cups present between them, the quality of something established and unhurried and real between two people who are comfortable enough with each other to simply be. This is the card of the established, ordinary, genuinely inhabited version of being with someone. Not the exciting beginning or the dramatic middle, but the specific richness of the settled version. What I am reading in this card about why they are preparing so carefully is something I want to name specifically. What they are orienting toward is not casual. What they want to connect with you about, or what they want to establish with you through the act of connecting, is not the provisional, low stakes, I can retreat if it does not land version of connection. What they are preparing for is the real version, the kind that, if it lands as they are hoping it will land, becomes something that has weight and duration and the specific quality of mattering. When the stakes of what you are approaching are that high, you do not approach carelessly. You do not wing it. You make yourself ready first. In whatever way you are capable of making yourself ready, because what you are about to do deserves the fullness of your preparation rather than the impulsiveness of simply going the moment you feel the impulse. I also want to speak to the specific way this card's imagery relates to what they are preparing for. The ease depicted in this card is not the ease of something that requires nothing. It is the ease that comes after the effortful thing, after the approach has been made and received, after the initial vulnerability has been survived. They are preparing for the approach precisely because they can see the ease on the other side of it, and they want to arrive there with the full quality of having approached correctly. I want to name something about why the vision of established ease tends to produce this specific quality of careful preparation rather than the opposite quality of rushing. When what you want is something simple and light, you can approach it impulsively because the cost of getting it slightly wrong is low. When what you want is something with the specific, particular richness of the established, genuine, unhurried version of being with someone, the vision of it actually produces more care rather than less, because the gap between the impulsive approach and the prepared approach becomes visible. They can see what they want clearly enough to understand that how they arrive there matters. And that understanding is what is keeping them in preparation rather than in premature action. Inhale with me, Virgo. Because the fourth card carries something I specifically want you to receive about what this period of their silent preparation means for you. This card shows a figure at a crossroads at the very beginning of a significant journey, with the quality of someone who has made a decision and who is now in the first moments of acting on it, holding the specific, clean, undistorted potential of a beginning before anything has complicated or tested or revealed the difficulty of what was chosen. The fire element of this suit speaks to initiative, to the willingness to begin, to the specific quality of taking the first step rather than continuing to stand at the edge of it. What I am sensing in this card about the period you are in right now is something I want to name clearly. You are in the window immediately preceding a beginning, not the long, distant approach of something that is still far away. The specific, close, the preparation is reaching its completion quality of something that is about to move from private into the shared space between you. The fire in this card is not patient exactly. It is purposeful. It is the specific energy of someone who has done their interior preparation and who is now approaching the threshold where the interior preparation becomes exterior action. The beginning this card is pointing toward is close, not a vague someday. The specific quality of something that is approaching the point where the preparation becomes complete enough that the moment for the approach arrives. I also want to speak to what this card's fire element suggests about the quality of the approach when it comes. Fire does not arrive tentatively. When the decision has been made and the preparation has completed, fire moves with the specific, unequivocal quality of something that has been held back long enough that the movement, when it finally comes, has a distinct quality of release to it. Not aggressive, simply certain. The specific certainty of someone who has prepared carefully and who is now ready. I want to address something specific about what silent preparation means in the context of approaching someone like you, because I think Virgo's particular nature makes this specific quality of approach more meaningful rather than less. You are someone whose attentiveness to how people approach you is acute. You notice not just what is said, but how it is said, not just what is offered, but the quality of care or carelessness with which it is offered. Not just the action of approach, but the interior state from which the approach is made. You can feel the difference between someone who is reaching toward you with genuine readiness and someone who is reaching toward you impulsively, without having done the work of understanding what they are reaching toward or what they want from the reaching. The person who is silently preparing knows at some level that you can feel this difference. They may not have articulated it to themselves in exactly these terms, but their instinct to prepare to do interior work before external action is responsive to something real about what approaching you requires. It requires readiness. It requires honesty about what one is actually feeling and what one is actually wanting. It requires the specific quality of being present and whole rather than impulsive and partial when one finally arrives. Their silent preparation is, in this specific sense, a form of respect for what you are, for what you deserve to be met with, for the specific quality of receiving that someone with your particular attentiveness requires in order to receive something as genuinely given rather than as carelessly offered. The fifth card arrived in the position of what the connection that is being prepared for is ultimately building toward what exists on the other side of the careful, considered, silent preparation and the approach it is leading to, and I want to describe it with the warmth that it carries. This card shows a figure ascending, carrying cups toward a light that is visible at the top of what they are climbing, with the quality of someone who is moving toward something with a quality of dedicated, unhurried, grounded commitment. The water element of this suit tells me that the movement is in the emotional domain, that what is being climbed toward is the specific quality of genuine, established, fully inhabited emotional connection, rather than something in the practical or intellectual register. What I am sensing this card is describing for what the connection being prepared is building toward is something I want to name simply and without excessive complication. Something real. Something that has the specific quality of something built rather than simply begun. Of two people who have moved past the vulnerable, uncertain beginning into the established, inhabited version of what is possible between them. I also want to speak to the number in this suit that this card represents because it sits at a point of accumulation, of having moved through enough of the journey that the destination is visible and the commitment to continuing is genuine rather than provisional. What is being prepared for is not a beginning in the sense of something that might or might not lead anywhere. It is a beginning in the sense of something whose destination is already visible to the person who is preparing, who can see where they are going, and who is working through the careful approach because they want to arrive there correctly. Before I close, I want to say something about what this reading ultimately confirms about the situation you are in. Someone is getting ready for you, not in a vague, general, eventually maybe way. In the specific, active, interior, work is already in process way of someone who has a destination and who is preparing seriously for the journey toward it. The preparation is not a sign of hesitation, it is a sign of care. It is the specific quality of taking something seriously enough to do it right rather than simply doing it immediately. And what they are taking seriously is you, the specific, real, fully dimensional fact of you and what it means to approach you in a way that is worthy of what they are approaching. The preparation is, in the most literal sense, an act of respect for who you are and what you deserve from someone who wants to connect with you. The silence of it, the fact that it is happening privately rather than visibly, is not concealment, it is care. It is the specific quality of someone who understands that the approach matters, that first impressions are real and lasting, that arriving in a state of genuine readiness produces a quality of connection, that arriving in a state of impulsive urgency does not. They are getting there. The silence is the getting there. And what arrives when the getting there is complete is going to carry all the care that the silent preparation produced. If this reading names something you have been sensing but not quite being able to articulate, the specific quality of someone's energy, feeling oriented toward you in a way that is careful and private and directed, please share it with a Virgo who might be in the same moment and who needs to hear that the silence of someone preparing for them is not absence but approach. And leave a comment. I want to hear who this is bringing up for you and what you have been sensing. I read every single comment and I hold what is shared in this space with genuine care long after this video ends. Until next time, Virgo, someone is getting ready for you in the quiet way, in the most careful way, in the way that means something is genuinely coming and it is going to arrive in the fullness of having been properly prepared for. Let it arrive. You have always been worth the preparation.